Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew, our name is Abitchonistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security to defend Israel. Thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you all of our supporters for tuning into this briefing. It's a great pleasure to be joined today by Major Yochanan Ben Jacob, who's going to discuss some of the major developments in the war today. Yochanan, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The first question I want to ask you, which is absolutely on everyone's mind, is this breaking news about the successful release or saving of the hostage in Gaza. What can you tell us about that?
Okay. First of all, let me just say thank you so much, Moshe. I'm very much pleased and honored and privileged to be again here. Regarding to today operations and saving another hostage kidnapped more than 300 days. It's one of our most amazing, daring type of operation that it took about it took at least about 2 weeks receiving such accurate, most precise intelligence from our 2 units, 504, which belongs to the head of the intelligence army, and plus the secret service, the Shabak. These two forces have made collaborated forces together with the special unit of the IDF, the Navy SEALs, very much the same like the Navy SEALs in United States. They have reached the place, and they have identified the kidnapped person. He's an Arab guy. He's a Bedouin from around the Beersheba area, and he was living in Rahat. It's a totally about 30,000 people live in this village. And he was just a security person guarding in one of the kibbutzim factory, and he got caught all of a sudden on Saturday, which the plant was closed altogether. And it was quite successful. He's very much alive. Everything is fine. He looks quite healthy, and we are very much proud of the operation. And this is a very, very, very daring operation. Thank you, Moshe.
Wonderful. And before we talk about Iran, which is our scheduled topic, I just want to ask you a question. You know, being a major with the IDF spokesperson office, you have a lot of experience in how information from the field is then transmitted to the public. And how does it work in terms of, I guess, compromising IDF operations for these types of rescues? When the spokesperson's office publicizes what happened, do they make sure to publicize it in a way that won't compromise anything? Because, you know, when this news broke today, it broke, and then people retracted it, and it broke, and it's almost like information is leaking out. I'm just curious, what is that relationship between getting the word out versus effective maneuvering in the battlefield?
Well, the very first thing is really keeping intelligence as top secret as possible without any leaks that might endanger the operation. This is the most important thing. However, the public must know about this. I mean, a minute or so, or once the kidnapped has been brought to the hospital, and the family has been notified also to come to the hospital. This takes about maybe 15-20 minutes. Once the kidnapped is already in the hand of the unit, and he's safe, and he's on, most likely in most cases, is on a helicopter, and he's being rushed to the hospital to see if everything is okay with him. Although he was checked already on field, and he was by a doctor, and everything was fine with him. However, a further checkup took place in the hospital. Until he is received in the hospital, no news cannot be transferred to the maybe the IDF spokesman's office is giving some warning and briefing ahead of time, maybe 15, 20 minutes, but not earlier than that. And once everything is safe, and then a special, just one line is being sent to the radio stations, TV, and other reporters. But that's how it's done.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Let's talk now about Iran. We're kind of just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for Iran to respond, for Iran to attack. Are you able just to give a little bit of context? Why does Iran want to attack Israel? Not from day one of the history of the conflict in the Middle East, but in terms of what's relevant for right now.
What's relevant right now, and just let's jump to the actual excuse why to attack Israel. Already, I mean, just about April 14th, 13th night, Saturday night, Iran already have attacked Israel, and it's failed. And they know that they cannot really launch an effective type of an operations against Israel, and they don't have the real means to do it and to damage Israel badly. First of all, the distance between the both countries is about 1,000 kilometers, which is about 600 miles. No ground forces they can't really come over to Israel with armory, tanks, or anything of that nature. So the only way for them to do it is by missiles, by cruise missiles, ballistic, and of course drones. Most of these capabilities that they have in mind, and they have actually within their own operational in their army, many of those launched already. Okay, they failed in Iran. This is something that we know after the operations on April 13, 14. The hesitations, it's quite obvious, but let's go back to the reason. The reason is the excuse that that there was an assassination took place in Tehran, in the IGRC compound in Tehran, and the head of the political bureau of Hamas was hosted over there, and he was blown up in his bed in his room. That's how it happened, and the Iranian regime feels very bad about it, and they feel that they've exposed, and some foreign entity has done it. So they are relating the whole thing to the Israeli Mossad, that they can do this kind of operations, and they have the reason to take him out. This is really the main reason. But let's jump to the hesitation. And how come they are hesitating? They are very much aware that they really can't bring again another operation better than the one that they have done before, and the 13th, 14th night of April, and therefore they don't really want to repeat the same failure again. So they are trying to do it via their own proxies, and they have sent the Hezbollah, which are the main force right now effective against Israel, and has a very zero distance between Israel borders from the north to the south of Israel. And they have shown that for the last 11 months, which they are practically have devastated many villages in Israel, and about between 0 kilometers to 3 kilometers downside from their own southern border to our northern border. Okay, it's devastated, and many of the villages in kibbutzim and moshavim have been hit badly. Especially, let's just say a few of them. Metula, 50% of the houses are devastated and ruined. Kfar Yuval is the moshav of the Jews that they came in the early 50s from India, and the kibbutz Manara, which the sister of late Prime Minister Rabin was resided over there, and it's about 20 to 30% of the houses are demolished, And so our other Yiftach and other Margaliot and other Moshavim has been hit badly. Now, this is the most devastating type of awareness that we can get from Hezbollah. It's zero distance. It's quite. There is no time for us to react, and they have quite successfully made a very successful bombardment via other rockets, short distance rockets and drones. Many of the drones are being intercepted. However, we don't have that much time to intercept, let's say, rockets, maybe 5, 10, 20 kilometers, or even other type of armaments that they are using, shells from anti kind of bombs. So this is the real retaliatory. And what happened is that about 2 days ago, Israel have realized that the Hezbollah are about to launch another one within 48 hours. So therefore, an early warning systems intelligence have reached the IDF and other intelligence branches of Israel, and they have launched an attack before, ahead of a preemptive attack against launchers in South Lebanon, something like within 35 kilometers north of the Israeli border, and they have abolished and maybe more than 100 launchers, which the launchers are the most important instruments using to bombard Israel via rockets, short distance and medium distance. Ballistic missiles are located very much north of Lebanon, and it is not being used, although it can be operational. So about 100 Israeli jets 2 days ago have demolished more than, let's say, more than 100 sites of launchers, and it was quite successful. Many storages of other rockets have been demolished also, not only launchers. And it took place in very early morning, let's say around 4 a.m. in the morning, and that was quite successful. The Hezbollah head commander has announced that just some chicken farms were hit, and nothing else, and all the launchers are secured and they can continue. Come to think of it, the next day they have launched about more than 50 drones and rockets over to the North Israeli villages and North Israel, Kiryat Shmona, Kibbutzim in the Hula and the Western Galilee, and even the Lower Galilee also. So we have not really done demolishing all the resources of rockets or drones, and there is still yet to go. And there are other means to do it, but Israel have just made that one operation, and they took a break for a while. Let's put it this way.
Major, thank you for sharing all of this with me.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing it with all of our viewers. Thank you, of course, to all of our viewers who are watching right now on our live Zoom or tuning into the recording on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing. Major, let me ask you a tough question. The way you're describing the threat from Iran, the way you're describing the closer threat from Hezbollah is that they're serious, but yet the IDF has been able to respond. And certainly looking back in April, what happened with Iran Amazingly, the Air Force with the whole coalition was able to take out that threat. And likewise, just this past Sunday morning, 100 Israeli jets take out that threat preemptively. So the question is, obviously, Israel is not sending off a preemptive large-scale strike against Hezbollah, as many in Israel want to see happen, because there's a concern about just broadening the conflict to a point of escalation that Israel will be overwhelmed. When I hear you speak, you're giving me so much reassurance that Israel is strong, the Air Force is doing great, we can stop the threats from Iran. But obviously, there's the other point, which is maybe we can't, which is obviously the reason not to escalate. So are you able to kind of, I don't want to be a doomsday person, but give me a more worst case scenario, meaning what would happen if Iran and Hezbollah attacked at the same time? So now the 100 aircraft being sent up in the north, you also need to send resources to fight against Iran or to the Houthis. Can you give us a broader picture of what a conflict could look like?
Okay, that's an excellent question. Okay, I can answer that. Israel has about more than 1,000 airplanes, not just 100. This 100 was about 10th of the force, and they have been sent and launched at the same time. We don't need that many jet planes in order to intercept Iran and Hezbollah at the same time. It can be we can really fight both of them at the same time in parallel, and we can win. We have not launched any really broad, intensive, immense scale of operations against Hezbollah yet. It was very, very short. It was only for 2-3 hours, and it was limited, and it was just to show them a lesson and to try to demolish much of their capabilities, launchers, and some rockets. We know it's quite impossible to demolish the entire 150,000 rockets and missiles stored in Hezbollah shelters, in tunnels, and storages throughout Lebanon. That's going to take really a big force to do it, and ground forces, tanks, armory, and other units. Israel, for the time being, quite reserved to take this kind of operations. Also, there is a geopolitics type of limitations that Israel do not wish to escalate. They have pressures from other empires not to do it. I don't want to get very much into politics, which is quite obvious. And Israel is refrain of doing it, and they can absorb the type of operations, and they are waiting also for time, also for a political settlement between us and the Hezbollah. And we have already, United States have sent several times Amos Shechtman to Lebanon, but unfortunately it did not succeed. But it can be succeeded once we have Hochstein. Yes, we put once we put down altogether the Hamas in South Lebanon, and I'm sorry, in the southern borders. It can be successful also. So for the time being, with the long distance between us and Iran, we don't have only the Air Force that can do it. We have the Arrow 2, and Arrow 3 that can intercept most of the launched missiles and the rockets from Iran. Answering your questions.
Thank
yes.
you.
Welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
We have time for one more question. And again,
okay,
thank you to everyone.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone who's sending in questions. Really appreciate it. We try to make these briefings relevant, so we try to answer your questions. Major, the last question, just a few minutes to answer, is what we saw Sunday morning with, again, those 100 jets going up in the air, taking out those targets in Hezbollah. To what extent did that really weaken Hezbollah? And how many similar preemptive strikes, so to speak, need to happen in southern Lebanon to really damage Hezbollah infrastructure?
Okay, the operation that took place on Sunday was very limited, and not only limited with power and force, it was limited with the distance. Also, it was only South Lebanon. We went maybe about 25 to 35 kilometers north of our border in order to demolish Hezbollah's capabilities. In the event that we wish to really abolish everything, we need to take longer time, much longer time, and much longer forces and combined forces, not only Air Force, not only jets. We need to go beyond the Litani, north of the Litani. We need to go maybe to the Bekaa Valley, which is about 175 to 100 kilometers north. So, and these type of places, we can go with helicopters, with infantry going down, with other capabilities such as armory, and together with the Air Force. Of course, we can do it, some of them from the sea, because I'm seeing here some people are asking, how about sea? The sea, it's possible, and but it's only limited to a certain distance. And the point here that the coastline of Lebanon is quite populated with the civilians, and this is not something that we wish to target. We can target maybe the upper mountains of Lebanon, but most of the storages are not up on the mountains, are below in the valleys and the next to some rivers and to some other remote areas, which is good for us because it's not populated, but it's possible. It will take maybe weeks or even months to abolish the entire storages of Lebanon. It's not something that they can be in one operations of 100 or 200 jet planes bombing, launchers, and other abilities. Just for you to understand, Moshe, is that much of the capabilities are stored in tunnels dug inside mountains. So I don't see how can such storages can be wiped out and bombed from the air. We do have very good intelligence exactly the storages and the tunnels, and we do have even films and videos of where are these locations. But it will not be just from the air. It must be from the ground.
Major Yochanan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
For sharing. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your expertise with our viewers. Thank you to all of the viewers for tuning in. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. here in Israel. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye. Cheers.